Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on page 234, there is a statement for Kobudo Educational Center, the fake school, where MCAs used to take their checks and withdraw the proceeds in cash. So, page 234, Mr. Speaker, for example, this does not affect Nairobi City County only, Mr. Speaker. Even CDF funds in various county constituencies in Nairobi, they're also victims of this scandal. Because as you can see, transaction number 1, this is a check, it's a transaction in 30th June 2016. There's a check from Langata Constituency Development Fund of 56,000, which was credited. Then the same day, the same was withdrawn in cash at current branch. 54,000 was withdrawn in cash. In the interest of time, Mr. Speaker, I'll not explain the entire statement because it's self-explanatory, but I'll take you to the transactions in the same page for 2016 before I became the governor. The same scandal was ongoing. Page 235, Mr. Speaker, these are cash deposits from Nairobi County, bursary fund, withdrawn in cash from current branch, transaction number 4 from the top of page 235. You'll find there is a check that was deposited, then there is our cash withdrawal. I just want to focus on Nairobi City County government alone, Mr. Chair. So, if we go to page 236, same transactions, Mr. Chair. Page 237, same. For instance, a good example, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, page 234. Okay, I was not the governor yet, but the same scenario is witnessed here. For instance, the first transaction on the 17th June 2017, another check from Nairobi City County government, 25,000 was deposited in the Kubudo account. Another check, second transaction, 25 deposited. Fourth transaction, there was a cash withdrawal from Cooperative Bank, 125,000. Monies meant for poor students withdrawn in cash by proxies for MCAs, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the scandal did not stop there. My first month in office, page 238, transaction number 1, Mr. Chair. You can see it there. Check from Nairobi City County government, 25,000. Second transaction, check from Nairobi City County, 25,000. Deposit to this fake school, 25,000. There are so many transactions, Mr. Chair. 25,000, 25,000. But Mr. Chair, I want to refer the House to the third last transaction on page 238 on the 6th September 2017, Mr. Chair, I apologize, 2017, my first month in office, Mr. Chair. All these checks which were deposited, Mr. Chair, yeah, various checks, as you can see, page 238 from the top towards the bottom, 1, 2, 3, fourth last transaction. You can see all this money was withdrawn in cash by Job Omondi. I think it's the PA to the MCA Karen. He withdrew, Mr. Chair, 449,000 in cash. The following day, he went to a different branch, cargo branch. He withdrew another 25,000, Mr. Chair. So the statements are self-explanatory, Mr. Chair. We go again to page 241. 241. Page 241, Mr. Chair. Again, checks from Nairobi City County government. Transaction number 1, 19th September 2017. You can see the trend, Mr. Chair. Various checks from Nairobi City County government were deposited, yeah, in favor of this fake school, fake account opened by MCAs, Mr. Chair. You can see there are several transactions there, 25,000. The same PA to MCA withdrew the money in cash, 900,000, on the 21st September 2017, Mr. Chair. So on page 243, Mr. Chair, the various checks where the mover was complaining, the checks which I refused to release. There is a check in favor of Kobuto Educational Center. The check is for City Hall Branch Cooperative Bank. Amount is 25,000. Account is Nairobi City County. But you see the check, why, Mr. Speaker, we refuse to release this, any further checks. The check was dated 26th April 2017. And it was deposited on 9th September 2018. They were forging and backdating these checks, Mr. Chair.
Excellency, you've shown the House various transactions with deposits and withdrawals. Would you say, by any means, that you have failed to disburse bursary?
No, Mr. Chair, because at this juncture, there were numerous complaints from parents, from various wards, Mr. Chair. And they were raising this complaint that their checks were issued, but they were not released to the various schools, Mr. Chair, countrywide. So, Mr. Chair, what the mover did not tell us, the reason why I refused to release these checks. This was one of the major reasons, Mr. Chair, as to why I refused to release these checks. The matter was subject to investigations. We engaged the DCI, the Banking Fraud Department, and the truth was finally discovered, Mr. Chair.
Now, then I'll take you to the second lib of the charge for gross violation of the Constitution and the law. It is the mover's allegation that you, as the governor for Nairobi, have violated Article 10
Mr. Chair, after unearthing this scandal and all the suspects were arraigned in court, we came up with a new law, Mr. Chair. This is one of the documents which have been refused to table. I'll just mention it for the purposes of handset. Mr. Chair, we came with this law, the Public Finance Management into brackets Nairobi City County Bursary and Scholarship Fund Regulation. I'll just mention, I'll not table.
Yeah, there is an intervention here. Yes, what's your...
We have an objection on the document the witness is relying on. We do not have the advantage of service of that particular document, so we have no ability of leading any evidence in rebuttal of that documents. We highly object to the witness relying on the documents not before this tribunal.
Yes, there's an intervention also by one of your counsel.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we allowed them to refer to communication and documents from their mobile phones. When I rose to object, the response was, raise that in your cross. 1. 2, they served us late with their documents. And Mr. Speaker, sir, we are entitled to call a public document because this is in their county assembly, with respect.
Further, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is common knowledge that each person is expected to know the law. That is a statute by the county assembly. And for that matter, it is not just any other document. And the witness is making reference to a statute. Then that goes to the benefit of everybody, including this House. And he's indicated that it's one of the documents that we could not produce, but it is the law. The law ought to be placed in public, and law can always be cited. Mr. Speaker, sir.
Okay, it seems to
Only
be.
one thing, we, as long as it's an enacted law, we have no problem. But we have seen them relying even on bills that are still pending before these houses. So let us be led to the law that the witness is relying on. We'll be much obliged to reply as and when our time comes. As long as it's a law duly enacted, we have no problem, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, that's a sideshow.
Okay.
Already, we've made our point that it's a law.
Oh, it's a law, okay. You will look at
It's
it.
not a
Okay,
bill.
proceed.
Mr. Speaker, the Public Finance Management into brackets Nairobi City County Bursary and Scholarship Fund Regulation, Mr. Speaker. Section 10 and 11 states that the Executive Committee shall thereafter issue the necessary bank instructions that shall cause the lump sum payments to be effected by the paying bank to the relevant bank accounts of the beneficiary institutions of learning as prepared by the various county committees. This is where the problem between myself and the MCA started, Mr. Chair. B, Mr. Speaker, the relevant details of the successful applicants shall be communicated to the paying bank by the Executive Committee while issuing instructions for payment, Mr. Speaker. These are the precautions we raised after discovering that the release of checks direct to MCS, we were losing a lot of money, Mr. Chair. The last one, Mr. Chair, Section 11. Executive Committee shall cause preparation of the bursary voucher bearing the following details. A, full name of the learning institution, Mr. Chair, whether it's a school. B, Mr. Chair, full name of the student. C, Mr. Chair, admission number of the students. D, Mr. Chair, the bursary amount to be disbursed in favor of the beneficiaries' students to every school, Mr. Chair. This was just a method to curb the misappropriation of funds by MCS. Again, Mr. Speaker, I will refer to the statement, which you are not producing because of your ruling. But in this statement, Mr. Chair, we remitted funds to all the schools, all the beneficiaries, the students, via RTGS.
Are you referring to, we didn't admit it?
Mr. Speaker, you didn't allow us to.
So if we didn't allow it, then
we
you
had
can.
80 copies of each, but the problem, Mr. Speaker, there are evidence that they also brought it at night.
Let him
After-
identify
So-
the document for purposes of identification. Let him identify the document.
You disallowed us, Mr. Speaker,
All
to say, but
documents
I
have
can.
been identified.
Okay,
Yeah,
we have the law, Mr.
Yeah,
Speaker.
yeah, the law is okay, but if we didn't allow
There's
that
a
one.
satisfied statement from the Cooperative Bank of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. We have 80 copies. If we are allowed, we can supply to each and every senator, Mr. Speaker. Based on your ruling, Mr. Speaker, we are not able to supply
Yeah,
this.
not
we have
now.
them here.
Not now.
Satisfied, Mr. Speaker. Today's date.
Mr. Speaker, in relation to that document, I would request that this house, being a house that deals with the matters touching on the county government, it may just have that document for its information at some point, even if it's not going to relate the same to the impeachment proceedings.
In addition, Mr. Speaker, even the mover himself. On
Kazo, take your seat. Allowed you to. That's what we are discouraging, just crossing over. Yes.
the mover, Mr. Speaker, is all sideshows to divert this attention, serious issue of diverting bursary funds. All his beneficiaries from his ward benefited from these bursary funds after we unearthed the scandal. We did RTGS to all the banks,
But,
and all the students from Embakasi, his ward, benefited, and have the list full list of beneficiaries, Mr. Speaker, in this statement.
okay, but we have not admitted it yet. So.
For the Hansard purposes, Mr. Speaker.
Now, Your Excellency, I had referred you to the second limb of the charge on gross violation of the Constitution and the law, and any other law. That is 1B, where it is alleged that as governor of Nairobi, you violated Article 10, Article 201, A, B, and D of the Constitution by failing and refusing and neglecting to comply with the provisions of Regulation 20 of the Public Finance Management County Governments Regulations 2015, which failure, refusal, and or negligence has compromised the provision of services envisaged under Part 2 of the fourth schedule of the Constitution, inter alia, most crucial provision of health services during the raging pandemic.
That is not.
Okay. And I would request that you answer the same together with C, where it is alleged that as governor for Nairobi, you have violated Article 187(2)(a) of the Constitution and Article 5.2 of the Deed of Transfer by your continued willful refusal to execute the statutory warrants essential in the release of funds from the County Revenue Fund, which has granted the provision of services not only in the county executive but of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. What would you say?
Mr. Chair, these are just sideshows. Mr. Chair, pursuant to Article 96 of the Constitution, Mr. Chair, this House, through its, I think, Health Committee chaired by Senator Mbito for Trans Nzoia, a couple of weeks ago, we appeared, Mr. Chair, before the Senate. There was a stalemate on the release of funds. Mr. Chair, I'd like to refer this Honorable House, Mr. Chair, to affidavit marked 10E, I think page 106, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the CS Treasury is on record confirming. In fact, there is a letter CS Ukuri attorney wrote to NMS General Body and a copy to us, confirming that there was no legal framework for Treasury or county government, Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, to disburse funds to NMS, Mr. Chair. So as Mr. Chair, we are being impeached because we are obeying the law. We are obeying the Constitution. These people want us to break the law, just the way it happened during the mess scandal during the Ministry of Health, Mr. Chair. We were forced from our allocations to release money direct to the national government. Yeah, Mr. Chair. This money was used to purchase health equipment. Some of them were never supplied to counties, Mr. Chair. And in the report, that report, Mr. Chair, this House, Honorable Senate, recommended that some senior officers in government should be charged. Ministers, PSS should be charged, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd like to refer the committee to that particular page, I think 106, affidavit number 10, I think.
Yes, an intervention by Senator Khaniri.
Speaker, I had to intervene the governor, but I expect the governor, having been a member of this House, knows how to address the chair. He's kept referring to you as Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, and I think that is wrong. The governor knows the rules of this House. This is the Speaker, not the Chair. So we must have our records correctly.
I apologize for that, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, sir. This is the committee of the whole.
You are apologizing by repeating the same mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. And Council, you will need know the time. We are trying to manage time, so try to guide the governor so that you're able to cover as much ground as possible to allow also cross-examination. Okay.
I'm guided, Mr. Speaker. Now, you referred to a letter from the CS Treasury.
Yes.
A letter a letter in document marked 10E.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, honorable members. Before this letter, there was another letter.
What's the date of that letter?
30th of November 2020. The letter is dated 30th November 2020 after my impeachment motion in the County Assembly. And one of the grounds for my impeachment was that I
Who
refused.
is the author of that letter?
The author of this letter, Mr. Speaker, is CS Treasury.
What is the letter about?
The letter, Mr. Chair, which we received on 4th of December 2020, still after my impeachment by the County Assembly,
Yes.
it is addressed to Major General Badi. Okay, first addressed to me. My Honorable Mike's reference number is there. And then addressed to Governor Mike Sonko and General Badi, Director General NMS. And reference is framework for financing transferred functions, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable members.
Yes. What does the letter entail?
In brief, Mr. Chair, in the essence of time, the Minister or CS Treasury is admitting that the AG and his office have now come up with a legal framework, and they're advising me now to release the funds to NMS, Mr. Chair.
Senator, there's an intervention by Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. Let's consult in low tones.
Could you clarify, because that letter is not in 10E. The letter is not in 10E, Mr. Nyamu. Oh, the volume is too low. Okay, the volume is now high.
I think the senator is in a different
10E.
affidavit. Just go to 10.
10. It's 10E.
I want to apologize, Mr. Speaker. I think the letter is not paginated. The affidavit is not paginated.
It's not,
Maybe
yes.
due to
The document is not paginated, unfortunately, and we
last-
apologize for that.
Oh,
But the letter is
4, 5, wait, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The last 10 pages, Mr. Speaker. Come from the last page, count 1, 2, 3 to 10. You'll find the letter there. From the last, from the back back page.
this one. Yeah, my learned friend is showing me that his is paginated, and it's page 106 of the bundle.
Actually, I mentioned about that. Thank you, Council, for the mover.
Page 106 of the bundle marked 10E. Yes, so what are you saying in relation to that letter? Did you have legal framework as at 26th of November 2020 when the motion was initiated?
No, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, because there is another letter also, which was also stopped from producing. The minister was telling Director General NMS not to release any funds. But in this letter dated 30th November 2020 and received on 4th December 2020 after my impeachment motion, the Treasury is advising us to release the funds to NMS because they have now come with a legal framework for the release of money, which is still contrary to Article 219 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, honorable members.
Now, on the matter touching on execution of warrants, to pave way for release of funds for the operations of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services.
Number B.
Were there any hiccups or disputes?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. There are so many hiccups and disputes. Because everybody who's supporting NMS, Mr. Speaker, is always talking about Article 187A. they're not focusing towards the end, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, of this article which talks about the transfer of functions, Article 187 2B, Mr. Chair, which I'll just want to read, Mr. Speaker, honorable members. Even if you can see in my accusations, number B, I'm being accused for defying Article 187 1A. But 187 2B, Mr. Speaker, which I'm about to read to the Honorable House, states as follows. I'm aware that 187 1A talks about the deed of transferred functions to be transferred, funds to follow these functions. But Mr. Speaker, towards the end of this same article, 172B states constitutional responsibility for the performance of the function or exercise of the power shall remain with the government to which it is assigned by the fourth schedule. Mr. Speaker, honorable members. Mr. Speaker, there were so many illegalities, Mr. Speaker, which were being committed, Mr. Speaker, by NMS and senior officials in Treasury. A very good example, Mr. Speaker, this was not the first budget, the 7 billion budget for me to reject, Mr. Speaker, because I believe in the rule of law, Mr. Speaker. I respect the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, a couple of months ago, they brought a similar illegal budget, a supplementary one, Mr. Speaker, of 15 billion. I have no problem, Mr. Speaker, with the transferred functions. Let them take the money of the transferred functions, Mr. Speaker. But it is wrong for them to interfere with the 6 functions which I'm left with, Mr. Speaker. Bursary fund, Mr. Speaker. Poor students, we used to give them between 10,000 to 20,000, Mr. Speaker. But now we'll end up giving them 800 bob because they have taken everything, Mr. Speaker. Money for disaster, fuel for our fire engines, Mr. Speaker, money for constructing stadiums, Mr. Speaker, social halls, technical universities, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to, you just allow me for the purposes of Hansard, Mr. Speaker. This is one of the documents, and I want to confirm which we have not produced. But for purposes of records, Mr. Speaker, just allow me to just capture, just...
No, orders. If they are not...
okay, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
So, Mr. Speaker, in that similar budget, I refuse to accent. It was passed again illegally. There is the 2/3 majority, accented, gazetted by the government printer. Mr. Speaker, I wrote a protest letter to the Attorney General, Solicitor General, explained that this is an illegality committed. And for the first time, Mr. Speaker, the Solicitor General concurred with me in his response. I'll not table the letter. He concurred with me in the response. He replied the letter to Director General NMS, all the relevant authorities, Controller of Budget, Treasury CS, and the government printer. And the AG advised the government printer, the governor is right, degazette this budget. And Mr. Chair, it was degazetted. We were called in State House. The president himself called me. I told him, Your Excellency, you are being misled. These guys have taken everything. I just donated my functions because of the court cases which I'm facing. I was told that I'm going to be helped. We are going to work together with the president. I was not told that the general is going to take over these functions, Mr. Chair.
Now, Your Excellency, are there pending disputes on the question of the warrants or appropriation in relation to NMS?
Mr. Speaker, there are so many pending disputes. As we are speaking, Mr. Speaker, the High Court vied petition number E348 of 2020 before the Honorable Justice Murima has suspended the Nairobi City County Appropriation Act 2020.
Do you have the document there? Do you have the pleading there?
Yes, we have the document, Mr. Speaker, page
What page is it?
page 369 of volume 2, from 369?
369 of
I think to 305. The matter came up for
305
mention,
of 10H.
and the orders were
Mr.
extended.
Speaker. Go to the document, please.
Page 367, I think it's marked as GM19 of volume 2, Mr. Speaker. Court order, ruling number 1, delivered delivered on, I think, the 7th of December, Mr. Speaker. A court order, Mr. Speaker, yes. It's a court ruling, Mr. Speaker.
In which case is that ruling?
Sorry?
In which case is that ruling?
In this case, Mr. Speaker, the Nairobi City County government is the petitioner, suing NMS, AG, General Badi himself, various generals from the military who have taken over some various functions in the county, General Frederick Lerura, General Mbidi, General Nyakundi, General Njoroge, General Biomdo, General Musoma, Kangete Tuku, CS, Department of National Treasury, Department of Devolution, Nairobi City County Assembly, and the Controller of Budgets. We all sued them, Mr. Speaker, and the court agreed with us that there was an illegality which was performed. And
Mr. Speaker, the witness is referring to the document marked Volume 2. Volume 2, 2B, the affidavit of the governor, the document marked D, Volume 2, page 369. Yes, so what happened in that case?
The entire act, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, was suspended temporarily pending the hearing and determination of our petition, Mr. Speaker, honorable members.
Is there any other disputes that is pending before any other organ?
Mr. Speaker, there are so many cases which were filed in court by various stakeholders in court, which are awaiting determination and hearing, Mr. Speaker. We also registered a dispute with the intergovernmental okay, the letter was captured in the ruling of Mrima. Because, Mr. Speaker, I want to repeat myself. We just donated our functions to the national government. And I want to repeat again, we have no problem in giving money to the transferred functions. There are only 4 transferred functions, Mr. Speaker. We are left with over 5, around 6. So we wanted as well to be given money to serve Nairobians in other sectors, Mr. Speaker.
So as it says, Your Excellency, have those matters been concluded for you to proceed to?
No, Mr. Speaker, the matters are still active in court. They have not been concluded.
Now, I would wish to take you to the 4th limb of the charge on gross violation of the Constitution and the law. That is 1B, where it is alleged that you, as Governor for Nairobi, have violated Article 183 of the Constitution as read with the Public Finance Management Act. It is stated that you have refused or failed to implement resolutions of the County Assembly or forward a report detailing your inability to do so, in line with Article 183 of the Constitution, as read together with the Standing Orders number 193, with respect to county public debts and debt management under the provisions of Section 123 of the Public Finance Management Act. And it has been alleged that the debt for the Nairobi County has now risen to 76 billion as at 31st December 2019. What would you say?
This is a sideshow, Mr. Speaker, honorable members. This is a lie, just to divert attention of the real issues, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, why am I saying this, Mr. Speaker? We formed, I'm the first governor. I think my administration is the first administration to form a pending bills committee, Mr. Speaker, to address all the pending bills, Mr. Speaker. And I remember very vividly, Mr. Speaker, we appointed the former EACC chairman, PLO Lumumba, to be the chair. There was a co-chair, Eric Mutua, and various representatives from DCI offices, SUPCAM. Mr. Speaker, I want to refer this Honorable House to page 12 to 13 of, I think, my affidavit, marked 1. Then from there, we'll also go to
that
another.
That is 10H, honorable members and the Speaker.
Where is it?
The document marked 10H, page 12 to 13, Mr. Speaker. Yes, what is on those pages? Page 12 and 13. What has happened? 12 and 13.
Mr. Speaker, page 12 talks about the part we played in addressing the huge pending bills Nairobi County was having by the time, Mr. Speaker, I was sworn in as the governor of Nairobi. Mr. Speaker, this is a matter pursuant to Article 96 was also handled by this House. And we successfully, Mr. Speaker, addressed the issue. And this House was satisfied with how we are addressing this issue. Mr. Speaker, at this juncture, I'll refer the ICT team to a clip on the pending bills at the Senate. Can we hear that clip, please?
Now, kindly refer to page 220 of that particular document. Kindly refer to page 214. To page
I think it's there.
220.
It's there. We can start the clip also as I refer to the. Start the clip again. My first month in office, Mr. Chair, 2017. We are the first county, Mr. Even before the president gave a directive, an executive directive to the county to clear pending bills, we had made an effort of clearing these pending bills, Mr. Chair. In my first month in office, Mr. Chair, 2017. We are the first county, Mr. Chair, to form the pending bills committee. And Mr. Chair, Constitution Nairobi, the culture which is there. If you want to pay a pending bill, it was there during my predecessor's time. If a contractor passed with 10% The following day, he gets his payments effected from the bank. This was 64 billion pending bills, Mr. Chair. If I wanted to make money to be part and parcel of the cartels, I could have received the 6 billion up from 10% and paid the 64 billion. But because Nairobi is bigger than Governor Sonko, we decided to go to court. And what happened after the court ruling, Mr. Chair? The pending bills of 64 billion was reduced to 23 billion, meaning tulishaidia pesa ya umma over 40 billion, Mr. Chair. So this is a very big effort, a move forward, which we made with my government, Mr. Chair. So we tabled the petition before the High Court, the moratorium order, then the pending bills committee, which was formed in early 2017, chaired by PLL Mumba and Eric Mutua, we shall table. Also, Mr. Chair, we should table a document from Treasury named Nairobi City County Financial Recovery Plan, dated 24th April 2018, signed by Principal Secretary, National Treasury, P.S. Tuge, which highlighted all the pending bills, Mr. Chair, all the statutory claims, but we're just taking the summary of the pending bills committee executed by PLL Mumba and Eric Mutua. Generally, we shall table, what is this?
Judgment, reducing.
The judgment, reducing one of the sensitive pending bills claims by Salima, garnishing our bank cooperative bank, we wanted to take this money at source, but we fought against this. We have a ruling in our favor. The 600 million claim was also set aside by court. Another issue for 90 million against us from a claimant in gender. This was quashed from the initial. I think ICT can forward the clip. We go to the end. The submission by the final decision by the chair of the committee. So we went and challenged that.
Governor Nandi, there were senators before.
Okay,
they know
okay.
what problem they used to undergo. You have been giving us concrete and bring down the general so that we can put these tools that
Okay, is that okay?
Yes. So
the fact that you budget to 70 confirms that you bill in relation to this problem. Chair who borrowed from Shylocks 200,000
I think, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
in the interest of time, the committee chair, they even honorable senators who are sitting in that committee, they even complimented us for the.
perhaps, Mr. Speaker, the witness, that is His Excellency, had wished to have the clip forwarded to capture the ruling of this particular House on that issue.
And by the way, you have 1 hour left, and that includes cross-examination. So you better, that I should let you know.
Very well, Mr. Speaker. If the document, if that clip could be forwarded to the point where the ruling is.
Mr. Chair, I think in summary, the entire committee concurred with us. We managed to reduce our pending bills, Mr. Chair. Actually, it was not 57 billion as alleged by the mover of the impeachment motion. He was just copy-pasting problems which have already been sorted at the Senate, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, we managed to reduce our pending bills after we formed this constitutional pending bills committee. And a very important point, Mr. Chair, some of the bills which were raised, because at some point I accompanied the pending bills committee to one of their, when they were going to check the projects in the slum areas. There's an area where it was alleged that there was a bridge that was constructed and a social hall to the tune of 300 million. But we went to the site, Mr. Chair, there was nothing that was on the site. Even a foundation stone was not put on the site. And Mr. Chair, because of that process, we managed to reduce our bills, pending bills, from 64 billion, Mr. Chair, to 23 billion, Mr. Chair.
Now, there is a document appearing on page 214 to 220 in the in your evidence marked 10H.
Yes.
Would you state what that document is in relation to this particular charge?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a document by the National Treasury and Planning in a meeting that all governors were invited in State House to address the impact of COVID-19 pandemic and government's intervention measures, Mr. Chair, and the presentation to the national and county governments coordinating summit, Mr. Chair.
Is a question of was there a reference to pending bills?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Report.
There was a reference. There was a reference to pending bills, Mr. Chair, page 220 of the same report.
Yes.
The Treasury summarized all the pending bills for all the counties, all the 47 counties, Mr. Chair, starting with Baringo.
Yes. Specifically.
Ending with Taita Taveta.
Specifically look at Nairobi.
And specifically, Mr. Chair, if you go to Nairobi, you'll find out the mover of this motion was lying to this House. He was lying to the public. He was tarnishing my name. He was destroying, Mr. Chair, my character with false accusations, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, specifically, as you can see, the bills on Nairobi, they are not 57 billion as the mover alleged, lying to the world, Mr. Chair. As you can see, the first column, eligible pending bills, Mr. Chair. Nairobi had 11 billion 783 million 829,072 cents, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, 11 billion 783 million 829,072 cents.
Yes, and how much has been paid so far?
And so far, Mr. Chair, the effort we have made, we have so far paid 4 billion 631 million 491 266 cents, Mr. Chair.
So how
and this is
much
a summary from Treasury.
How much is outstanding?
In fact, we have already paid another 4 billion, which is not captured here, Mr. Chair. Meaning, the balance captured by the Treasury, by the time all governors were summoned in State House, was 7 billion, Mr. Chair, 7.1 billion. And we have paid another 4 billion, which is not captured, meaning our pending bills by now will be less than 4 billion, Mr. Chair.
Is that summary by the Treasury anywhere close to the figure alleged to be pending after this particular charge?
No, Mr. Chair. And an important point in the instance of time, because the mover raised very grievous allegations, Mr. Chair. I also beg, Mr. Chair, this Honorable House also to accord us time when we're handling grievous issues, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the national government owes us over 300 billion. I want to compliment Senator for Nairobi, Senator Sakaja. At some point, he was pushing for the release of these funds. And I remember very vividly, Mr. Chair, at some point we had a meeting in the State House with the President, CS Rotich, PSN Rithuge. We have some undertakings. We did a document, Nairobi City County Recovery, Financial Recovery Plan. We at some point agreed on a debt swap, meaning the money the national government owes us, the debt, statutory debts from various government agencies like KRA, we have a loan for 4 billion from KCB. The government was ready to pay this money on our behalf so that we do what is called a debt swap. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, before that process was concluded, Minister Henry Rotich had some problems, PS Tuge, I think they were fired. I'll come to that, we have got those documents somewhere. So this is a clear indication, Mr. Chair, during my time, I had made progress in settling the pending bills for Nairobi County. And this House, Mr. Chair, still, pursuant to Article 96, you have...
Don't you use your... Yes, what's your intervention, Senator Wario? Yours is working?
Oh, yes. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to inform Senator Sonko to
Governor.
Governor Sonko to refer you to be as Speaker, not Chairman. He is keeping on referring you as Chairman. Chairman. Yes, thank you.
I thought it was a committee of the whole. I'm sorry for that. I apologize.
No, Speaker, I think stick to Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And we
Mr.
hope,
Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, with utmost respect, will be given some additional 30 minutes because of the interjections that
No,
are
it can't be 30. It can't be. Just utilize your time properly. That was a half a second.
We'll try, Mr. Speaker. Now, in summary, Your Excellency, Governor, is that particular charge founded? Does that charge have any foundation?
No, because the matter was addressed by Senate, by the national government.
Does it have any foundation in terms of the figures and the allegations made?
No, no, Mr. Speaker.
Now, I wish to move to the next limp of the charge, where it is alleged that you violated Article 2271 of the Constitution on Procurement of Goods and Services, as read together with the provisions of the Public Procurement and Disposals Act 215, by flouting the principles of public finance management in as far as public procurement of goods and services is concerned. Where the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, PPRA, faulted the procurement processes for the construction of Dandora Stadium, the authority flagged irregularities in the awarding of the tender, alteration of contract specifications, suspected irregularities in payment, and forgery of documents. And that despite technical evaluations questioning paying 196.87 million for the contractor. Now, Honorable Governor,
Yes.
are you at any given time involved in procurement matters?
No, Mr. Chair, not at all. And Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry again.
Do you have, just listen to my question, do you have accounting officers charged with the responsibility of dealing with procurement in your government?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Section 103 of the PFM Act, I appointed CEC Finance, who also appointed chief officers to be in charge of all the departments within the county government of Nairobi, Mr. Speaker.
Now, have you dealt with the procurement in relation to Dandora directly as an accounting officer?
Not at all, Mr. Speaker.
Have you ever signed any voucher towards payment of any monies in relation to Dandora?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Have you been involved in the signing of any contract in relation to Dandora?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Now, have you ever been summoned by the county assembly in line with the exercise of oversight under Article 185 on the question of the contracts in relation to Dandora?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Now, I'll move to the next question. So, is this charge
Please, those who have logged in, just unlog so that we know when they will be fresh.
Yeah, even Jesus was tried around this time.
It will be roll call, yeah?
You know,
Okay, let's take our seats. Let's take our seats. Order, members, order. Order, members, let's take our seats. Order, take your seats, take your seats. We have a supplementary order paper. We are now back to open session. The cameras can now come back. Order, members. Let me call the clerk to read the next order.
Order number 3, notice of motion.
Leader of majority.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, on Wednesday, 3rd December 2020, the Nairobi City County Assembly approved a motion for the removal from office by impeachment of the Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Governor of Nairobi City County. And further, whereas by letter reference number NCCA SPK 12/2021, dated Friday, 4th December 2020, and received in the office of Speaker of the Senate on Friday, 4th December 2020. The Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi City informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly. And whereas, pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, Standing Order number 75 of the Senate heard the County Assembly on grounds of removal from office by impeachment of the Governor. And further, whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Government Act 2012 and Standing Order number 75. The Senate also had the governor of the Nairobi City County on the grounds of removal from office by impeachment of the governor. Now, therefore, pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012 and Standing Order number 75, the Senate resolves to remove from office by impeachment the Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko, the governor of Nairobi City County, on the following charges. 1, gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. 2, abuse of office. 3, gross misconduct. And 4, crimes under national law. Thank you, Mr.
Second. Next order.
Order number 4, motion, proposed removal from office by impeachment of the governor of Nairobi City County.
Leader of majority.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the following motion. That whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, on Wednesday, 3rd December 2020, the Nairobi City County Assembly approved a motion for the removal from office by impeachment of the Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Government of Nairobi City County. And further whereas by letter, reference number NCCA/SPK/12/2021, dated Friday, 4th December 2020, and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on Friday, 4th December 2020. The Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi City informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by a County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly. And whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, and Standing Order 75 of the Senate had the County Assembly on the grounds of removal from office of the by impeachment of the governor. And further, whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, and Standing Order number 75, the Senate also had the governor for Nairobi City County on grounds of removal from office by impeachment of the governor. Now, therefore, pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, and Standing Order number 75, the Senate resolves to remove from office by impeachment the Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko, the governor of Nairobi City County, on the following charges. 1, gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. 2, abuse of office. 3, gross misconduct. And 4, crimes under national law. Mr. Speaker, the matters here are straightforward. It is a constitutional duty of this Senate to take up this matter. We shall neither shy from it nor be intimidated. We must move in this direction and make decisions. Mr. Speaker, we have heard evidences the last 2 days. We have listened. In your own words, Mr. Speaker, you called it some boring session. It will be boring, but we heard. And I want to thank, Mr. Speaker, members, all the senators. The numbers proved to you, Mr. Speaker, that senators paid keen attention to the presentations on both sides. And everybody has been given a chance to be heard. And so, Mr. Speaker, this is a time of reckoning. And I'd like to ask members, you have heard, you made a decision, and now the time has come to put it to a vote. And I want to encourage members, please, this is your duty, and you must act. I want to thank everybody and thank the chairman, the Speaker for the way that you conducted this business. Speaker, I think we may have to reconsider certain things about how we run this business, but here is a time that will come. I will not take long, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to move, and ask the leader of the minority to second. I beg to move. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'd ask that order be kept while we are having the proceedings. As you know, there are senators upstanding.
Honestly, take your seats.
And that is not allowed at all. Mr. Speaker.
Yeah? Please, those who have logged in, just unlog so that we know when they will be fresh.
Yeah, even Jesus was tried around this time.
It will be roll call, yeah?
You know,
okay, let's take our seats. Let's take our seats. Order, members, order. Order, members, let's take our seats. Order, take your seats, take your seats. We have a supplementary order paper. We are now back to open session. The cameras can now come back. Order, members. Let me call the clerk to read the next order.
Order number 3, notice of motion.
Leader of majority.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, on Wednesday, 3rd December 2020, the Nairobi City County Assembly approved a motion for the removal from office by impeachment of the Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Governor of Nairobi City County. And further, whereas by letter reference number NCCA SPK 12/2021, dated Friday, 4th December 2020, and received in the office of Speaker of the Senate on Friday, 4th December 2020. The Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi City informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly. And whereas, pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, Standing Order number 75 of the Senate heard the County Assembly on grounds of removal from office by impeachment of the Governor. And further, whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Government Act 2012 and Standing Order number 75, The Senate also had the governor of the Nairobi City County on the grounds of removal from office by impeachment of the governor. Now, therefore, pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, and Standing Order number 75, the Senate resolves to remove from office by impeachment the Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko, the governor of Nairobi City County, on the following charges. 1, gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. 2, abuse of office. 3, gross misconduct. And 4, crimes under national law. Thank you, Mr.
Second. Next order.
Order number 4, motion, proposed removal from office by impeachment of the governor of Nairobi City County.
Leader of majority.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the following motion. That whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, on Wednesday, 3rd December 2020, the Nairobi City County Assembly approved a motion for removal from office by impeachment of the Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko, government of Nairobi City County. And further whereas by letter, reference number NCCA/SPK/12/2021, dated Friday, 4th December 2020, and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on Friday, 4th December 2020. The Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi City informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by a County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly. And whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, and Standing Order 75 of the Senate had the County Assembly on the grounds of removal from office of the by impeachment of the governor. And further, whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, and Standing Order number 75, the Senate also had the governor for Nairobi City County on grounds of removal from office by impeachment of the governor. Now, therefore, pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, and Standing Order number 75, the Senate resolves to remove from office by impeachment the Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko, the governor of Nairobi City County, on the following charges. 1, gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. 2, abuse of office. 3, gross misconduct. And 4, crimes under national law. Mr. Speaker, the matters here are straightforward. It is a constitutional duty of this Senate to take up this matter. We shall neither shy from it nor be intimidated. We must move in this direction and make decisions. Mr. Speaker, we have heard evidences the last 2 days. We have listened. In your own words, Mr. Speaker, you called it some boring session. It will be boring, but we heard. And I want to thank, Mr. Speaker, members, all the senators. The numbers proved to you, Mr. Speaker, that senators paid keen attention to the presentations on both sides. And everybody has been given a chance to be heard. And so, Mr. Speaker, this is a time of reckoning. And I'd like to ask members, you have heard, you made a decision, and now the time has come to put it to a vote. And I want to encourage members, please, this is your duty, and you must act. I want to thank everybody and thank the chairman, the Speaker for the way that you conducted this business. Speaker, I think we may have to reconsider certain things about how we run this business, but here is a time that will come. I will not take long, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to move and ask the leader of the minority to second. I beg to move. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'd ask that order be kept while we are having the proceedings. As you know, there are senators upstanding.
Honestly, take
Yeah,
your seats.
and that is not allowed at all. Mr. Speaker, strictly speaking, I have 1 hour to second the motion. But being cognizant of the importance of this motion, I beg to second. And Mr. Speaker, I want just to make the following remarks. The question of removal is not a question that can be made by any one single senator, but on account of the aggregate vote of all the senators as an expression of the resolution of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I want to place before you certain matters which are in the Constitution to draw a contradistinction. And if the Attorney General Emeritus and the judge...
Order, Senators, Emeritus.
Emeritus
Please.
and the judge.
Let's make it easy for him to second them.
The judge is on his feet and he's supposed to be judge. Yeah, I don't know how he's going to judge. Now, Mr. Speaker, this is probably the only power under the Constitution that has remained intact throughout our constitutional dispensation. Is a power which is so onerous that, Mr. Speaker, I believe that any time we are faced with an impeachment, we should give the whole country the feeling that anybody who appears before the Senate is assured not only of justice being rendered, but even in terms of our conduct, justice will not only be done, but would be manifestly be seen to be done. And that goes not just from what we say as a Senate, collectively, as individually, but even as the way we conduct ourselves during such proceedings. And Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to, for the purposes of seconding this motion, draw to the attention of the Senate two issues. One, the principles of how impeachment is to be carried out and the standard of proof that is required in an impeachment is now a matter which has been well settled by the courts in the various decisions that have been made here. And I would plead to the Senate also to be consistent. There was a time, Mr. Speaker, when I tried to urge the Senate that is very important under the principle of legality and committee of institutions, that we should respect what the courts do in as much as what we want the courts to do. I think there's a matter which is still a matter of debate. We seem to be shifting goalposts. In other matters that I remember in the Samboja case, people were saying we should never be compelled to obey court orders. And in these particular proceedings, we are being urged that this matter is before the court and therefore we should not be in a position to deal with it. But having said that, I want the Senate to look at Article 99 of the Constitution in relation to disqualification of members. When you are charged in a criminal court and you are convicted, you cannot be removed as a member of this House, because the Constitution says that and this is Article 99, sub-Article 2H, that you must have been found in accordance with any law to have misused or abused a state office or public office or in any way to have contravened Chapter 6 of the Constitution. That is why it is possible for a member of parliament who has been convicted of an offense can continue to be a member of the House until the appeal process is exhausted. And I think we have examples in the county, in the National Assembly. But when it comes to the removal of a county governor, the words there are very different in contradistinction to what is contained in Article 99. And, Mr. Speaker, it says the following, and I read Article 181 of Article 1. A county governor may be removed from office on any of the following grounds. It does not say to have been found. It says on any of the following grounds. Then when you go to Article 1B, it says, where there are serious reasons to believe, not to have been found, there are reasons to believe. And this, of those people who have read the American Constitution and the impeachment processes in the United States of America, and a lot of jurisprudence on this, they are saying this was the instrumentality of Parliament to control those who would act in abuse of power, that if they waited for court processes, that undermining of the authority of delegated authority from the sovereign authority, which is the people, would have to wait until the 5 years or 4 years of tenure is over. So, Mr. Speaker, what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is the ground, the standard of proof is very different, and as the courts have borne out in the many appeals that we have been referred to. But the finding as to whether there has been a violation of the impugned conduct as stated in the Article 181 of the Constitution is really a political question. But we have to have a threshold because they are set out in the Constitution. But in my view, it's still a political question. It's a political question. So at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, all that I want to say in conclusion is that this is a very important instrument that is donated only to this House. And my fear is, Mr. Speaker, and we must revise these rules. We must look at the Act again. My belief is that so far we have not given the solemnity to this process, because imagine the next time probably is the President of the Republic of Kenya that we are impeaching, contrary to the mandate they are given to the people by the people of Kenya. Everybody in the world will be watching us. It may be the governor now, but if it was the President of the Republic of Kenya, the whole country will be watching. And Mr. Speaker, therefore, I believe that we must revise the rules. We must amend the County Governments Act in relation to the impeachment. And I want to persuade the House that a committee process probably is better. In the United States of America, they did not have a provision for the committee system. What they have in the law is actually plenary. But they have found out over time that plenary doesn't really work. It doesn't do justice to the grounds and the seriousness of the grounds which normally those who have been impeached face. So, Mr. Speaker, with those remarks, I beg to second. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, I now propose the question, which is that whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Government Act 2012, on Wednesday, 3rd December 2020, the Nairobi City County Assembly approved a motion for the removal from office by impeachment of the Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Governor of Nairobi City County. And further, whereas by letter reference number NCCA/SPK/12/2021, dated Friday, 4th December 2020, and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on Friday, 4th December 2020, the Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi City informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by the County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly. And whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Government Act 2012 and Standing Order 75 of the Senate had the County Assembly on the grounds of removal from office by impeachment of the governor. And further, whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Government Act 2012 and Standing Order number 75, the Senate also had the governor for Nairobi City County on the grounds of removal from office by impeachment of the governor. Now, therefore, pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 333 of the County Government Act 2012 and Standing Order 75, the Senate resolves to remove from office by impeachment the Honorable Mike Mbuvi Sonko, the Governor of Nairobi City County, on the following grounds. Charges: 1, gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. 2, abuse of office. 3, gross misconduct. And 4, crimes under national law. What's your point of order? Who is it? Okay, Senator Sakaja. Yeah, I've finished. What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I stand under Standing Order 106 on limitation of debate, which clearly says that the Senate may, on a motion made by any senator in accordance with the Standing Order, impose a limit in respect of debate or any particular motion or bill by allocating a limited period of time for such debate or by limiting the time during which senators may speak in such debate or by imposing such limitations. Mr. Speaker, Standing Order number 106(2) clearly says that such a motion may be moved without notice. I beg to move this motion, Mr. Speaker, that this debate be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, Mr. Speaker, so that, Mr. Speaker, we save time. Mr. Speaker, I want to call upon Senator George Khaniri to second this motion. Thank you.
Seconded. Therefore, I'll just give 3 minutes. Senator Sakaja.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to...
Senator Kindiki Kidure.
I'm not the Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Okay, yeah.
The Senator for Kakamega County has moved a procedural motion, and properly so, which has been seconded by the Senator for Vihiga County. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, with tremendous humility, I believe that the Speaker of the House must take a vote, a viva voce vote, to ascertain whether that motion has been passed before we can progress. Because I am of the opinion, Mr. Speaker, that talking about removing of a governor is not a small matter. As many senators as possible should be able to speak for at least 5 minutes, to at least to say something. Minimum 3 minutes. By the time one rises up, time will be over. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm begging. But if it is the opinion that we do 3 minutes by majority, I'll abide by the decision of the House.
Okay. A motion has been proposed to limit the time of the motion and seconded. Now I propose the question which is that the time for this motion be limited to 3 minutes. As many are of that opinion, say aye. Aye. As many are of contrary view, say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Sakaja.
Mr. Speaker, I seek your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. I know members want us to dispense with this matter quickly, but as a senator representing Nairobi, I would kindly ask that I beg your indulgence that I speak for 5, or 6, Mr. Speaker, kindly.
Okay, 5.
Thank you. Senator Ridama is saying 10. I don't need 10. Mr. Speaker, as I speak to this motion, Mr. Speaker, kindly advise senators not to address me, to address you. You're asking a point of order to the Speaker, not to me. And unless you're given, I keep speaking. Mr. Speaker, in speaking to this motion...
What's your point of order, Senator Murkomen?
Mr. Speaker, there is a tradition which has been established in this House. First of all, Mr. Speaker, I know I cannot raise a point of order against you, but you only proposed the question, you didn't put the question on the time we are supposed to debate here. So just that's out of procedure, but that's water under the bridge. The real tradition that has been established in this House from the time impeachment started is that the senator of the county where the governor is from speaks last, Mr. Speaker. And it's a tradition that has been established because he speaks last, and generally there's always an indulgence to give him more time. And there's a reason why he should speak last, is so that then he can sum up everything, Mr. Speaker. And you know, generally there was a tradition. So I want to beg my friend Senator Johnson Sakaja, if he can wait for the other members to contribute first, so that then we can follow.
Okay, Senator Sakaja, is that okay?
Mr. Speaker, I acknowledge tradition. These are House of Rules and tradition. I have much to say. I will abide and speak last, but I hope that what I wanted to say will not be clouded by what members say. But I urge that even if I speak last, you still give me an extension of time when I speak, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Senator Isaac Mwaura.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, you caught me off guard. I still thought I wanted to listen to Senator Sakaja. But I want to really say that this whole process of impeachment is a far much better, improved version than the way in which we impeached the governor for Kiambu, Ferdinand Waitito. I think I saw a lot of civility from senators and also the cross-examination from the council. And that is something very commendable, Mr. Speaker. But I also want to say that we really need an impeachment procedure law so that we are very clear that it is not whimsically possible to just make a determination as to whether we really have a case for a plenary or for the committee based on maybe what may have happened by a certain committee or certain persuasions of the moment. But, Mr. Speaker, having said that, it is my opinion that indeed, yes, the governor has a case to answer. I think I was moved personally by the charges against him, especially around gross misconduct, issues to do with variation of tenders, and this topic I keep on talking about called development corruption, where you use development money meant to help the poor Kenyans, you divert them by compromising on the standards of that project so that then those monies end up in people's pockets. It was clearly demonstrated to us by the county assembly that a lot of monies were actually diverted from a stadium project, and further, quite poignantly and sad, that monies meant for bursaries have actually been diverted to pay lawyers. And you know, this is a very clear conduit for self-enrichment of legal fees that would not otherwise be quantifiable. I don't know, Mr. Speaker, whether it is the amount of English, and today we've had a lot of it, that then would amount to the hundreds of million shillings that have been diverted. And Mr. Speaker, now that I can see the yellow line, I want to say that really we owe it to this country to have governors having the highest threshold of decorum. We want people who, when they look at their TVs, at our TVs, they will see that these are honorable people who have been elected to office to serve. And in my opinion, Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko has not presented himself in such a manner. I think he's a very good example of someone who, in my opinion, who should not have even been elected to the office of the governor of Nairobi. And I so ask that this honorable house do make its considered opinion so that we...
Senator Olekino.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose this motion with the following reasons. Mr. Speaker, I've sat here for the last 2 days, listened very carefully to the allegations by the County Assembly, and in my view, which I wish to convince my colleague within 3 minutes, those allegations have not been substantiated. Mr. Speaker, sir, we were told that money was diverted, bursary money was diverted to pay for lawyers, to pay for other services. But the evidence which was presented by the county governor spoke differently. Mr. Speaker, we were given documents from Central Bank that showed that that was stopped. Mr. Speaker, sir, what happens? Normally, when you're processing a payment, it leaves IFMIS and it goes to IB. At the end of a financial year, if that money has not cleared from IB or internet banking, it goes back into the county revenue fund. Mr. Speaker, sir, with my 2 minutes left, the issues that we have been entertained here with revolve around 3 particular issues. One, Article number 187, 2A and B. And this is a matter that this House must sit seriously and consider. Because when it says that arrangements shall be made to fund transferred services, it does not say the national government should put together a legal framework to transfer those services. This is a threat to devolution, and we must be alive to that. The second issue, Mr. Speaker, has got to do with the relationship of the Treasury, the County Assembly, the County Executive, and this new entity called NMS. Mr. Speaker, sir, we will be violating Article 219 if we agree with the County Assembly that, yes, NMS should get money directly from the Exchequer. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have 50 seconds. I want to beseech you, my brothers and sisters. This is a very tough time for devolution. If we agree to violate Article 187, 2A and B, and Article 219 of the Constitution, we will be doing us a disservice. In the last few seconds, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd like to end with a quote from the Bible, Proverbs 12:22. It says, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who deal truthfully are his delight. I wish to beseech you to deal fruitfully and truthfully. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Cheriot. It's not there. Senator Langat Christopher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance also to say something. I want to oppose this particular motion deeply. One is because of procedure. The fact that if we are not careful as the House, I want to say that the irregularities that are happening in the county assemblies are likely to translate to this particular House, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I want to say it was not very clear up to this particular time if the threshold was met clearly in the county assemblies. And I want to say that unless we are careful, sooner or later, this particular House will be converted by the MCAs as a lynching ground to the governors. Governors are now under fear. They fear a lot. They fear their MCAs, and they fear that they will be brought here to be lynched. So we need to protect the devolution by actually, we may not actually, we may not be having substance on what actually the governor gave, but the procedure is faulty. You could see, and everybody even here, is not, it is not clear to all of us if those particular MCAs who are in Mombasa, if they actually voted, Mr. Speaker. So I want to say that the faulty process produces faulty results. And I want to say we must be careful on the procedures that are taking place in the county assembly, or we risk this house becoming a lynching ground for the MCAs actually who have got a lot of demands that are putting on the governors that are not realistic, and they cannot be actually accepted. So I want to beseech this house that if only we could send this particular case back to the MCAs so that the procedure be followed effectively, Mr. Speaker, we have got no problem with the results. But a faulty process also leads to a faulty results at the end of it. So I beg this particular house that we reconsider this matter with seriousness that it deserves as a way of protecting devolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mogeni Eric Okongo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is the fourth impeachment we are doing in less than 3 years as senators. And I think for those who have served more than one term, there would even be more. Mr. Speaker, we are sitting as a jury, quasi judicial proceeding, as a court of law. It's important, Mr. Speaker, that in the eyes of anybody who comes before us, to see that not only has he or she been subjected to a process that is fair, but that he has also received justice. Mr. Speaker, the way we conduct these proceedings need to be reviewed going forward. Mr. Speaker, if you go to the United States of America, an impeachment of a president is done under serious investigation. I remember that during the impeachment of Richard Nixon, Hillary Clinton was one of the attorneys that were assisting with gathering evidence against the then sitting president. But as we speak here today, Mr. Speaker, you have seen that there are many instances where we are not able to get proper assistance from advocates who appear for the respective parties. We asked issues touching on whether orders were served. We were trying to get proper records from the assembly. We were told we ought to have summoned the clerk to appear before us to give us further evidence. Mr. Speaker, we really must put in place a body that should review the way we conduct this inquiry so that parties and Kenyans in general can have confidence. Mr. Speaker, this is like when you face an election petition. When you have received the mandate of the people to be their leader and you are taken to an election petition court, you expect fairness and you expect justice, and the verdict that is passed against you should be one that enjoys the confidence of the people that voted for you. But in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, our governors must also know, going forward, that if you violate our constitution or if you violate any law, then you may risk losing your seat. Mr. Speaker, Richard Nixon was impeached just for not Richard Nixon, Johnson, just for violating the Tenure of Office Act, a simple act of sacking the war minister, Edward Stanton, provoked an impeachment motion, which was passed. So any governor must know that if you...
Senator Murkomen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank both the councils for the governor and the county assembly for the work they did. Mr. Speaker, to agree with many of our colleagues who said that an impeachment process, though legal, has a lot of political implication. This House is presiding over the fourth impeachment procedure this term. And like last term, Mr. Speaker, this term of the 4 impeachment processes, 3 have an element of state sponsorship. Two particularly have a full support of the state, including this one. Mr. Speaker, I have a problem with that. I have a problem because if the national government will use its machinery, both, Mr. Speaker, security machinery and resources that are given by the people of Kenya to impeach a governor, then lies the danger. Mr. Speaker, Article 96 was not established by accident. Article 96, which says that the Senate shall protect counties and county governments, was put in place because it was known that there is a danger that county governments are facing. Where is that danger from, Mr. Speaker? There might be other quarters that county governments may face danger from, but the most primary institution or government, Mr. Speaker, that threatens county governments, the national government, because of the competition between the national government and the county governments. Today, from the witnesses and from the testimony we've heard from the Nairobi County government, all this is about control of the 10%, Mr. Speaker, of the country in terms of its economy. It is 60% of the GDP Nairobi County. This is about power. It's about the transfer of functions agreement. It's about the establishment of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's about interests that are competing, and particularly commercial interests, Mr. Speaker. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, this House must rise to the occasion to defend devolution and to ensure that counties and county governments have the confidence of the senators. And Mr. Speaker, with those comments, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that this House must tonight demonstrate itself that they have the level of consistency that can be believed by the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I beg to oppose.
Senator Chila yako.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm hearing some people talking about my goodness. I don't know whether they did not expect me to speak. Now, Mr. Speaker, we are converged here as a jury. My understanding of a jury, the practice has evolved in senior jurisdictions, is that they are sequestered. They are kept somewhere where they cannot be influenced by many people, by opinions that are external to the facts. And Mr. Speaker, you will notice that many of us do not want to speak here because we do not want to be influenced. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say that this is a very serious duty, and in the future, I think we should introduce sequestration so that we do not have to operate in a manner that we may be influenced. Now, having said that, Mr. Speaker, I also want to say that if you look at our legislation, the foundation of which this motion is brought, it requires that we investigate. If we are to defend counties, if we are to apply Article 96 of the Constitution and achieve the objective of that article where we defend counties, then we must not rely on arguments that are made by county assemblies and arguments that are made in response by county governments alone. We should be able as a body to go out there and find the facts out for ourselves. Because in matters that are adversarial, those who are better equipped and those who are better prepared will become persuasive. That is the dilemma in which we find ourselves in. I will express my opinion by voting. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kimani wa Matangi, and I'll come. Yeah, I'll come.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to first begin by appreciating, and I think it's important for members of the public, because there has been that debate all along, whether if we conduct our business in plenary or whether we go to a committee, which way is justice served, Mr. Speaker? And I think it's important that members of the public who have been following these proceedings understand that this House is above reproach, and that whichever way we prosecute these matters when they come,
Mr. Speaker, that at the end of the day, senators make a conscientious decision that eventually will give the verdict of what each senator is convinced has happened. But Mr. Speaker, just two quick issues I would like to address that I think are pertinent in the future. First, Mr. Speaker, is I believe we need to readdress the procedure of how we deal with these impeachment processes, Mr. Speaker, because we might run the risk of compromising a very important tenet and virtue of this process, and that is believability. Mr. Speaker, if these processes continue and then eventually it is clear, even to somebody who is following, that we are not able to prosecute the matter to its detail because of lack of time, such that there is even no time to question the veracity of evidence, look at the authenticity of documents when they have been of this House as one that is given that constitutional duty. Mr. Speaker, secondly, I believe, Mr. Speaker, that what we are seeing when these processes start is not what is intended in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. At one point in the process, Mr. Speaker, it ended up being a contest between MCAs. You ask, if this side brings an MCA and they are trying the other MCAs on the other side, is this a contest between members of the same county assembly that who have come here to say this one said this one did not do this? Indeed, it almost reduced to a contest between lawyers. So you find there's one lawyer questioning the authenticity and the integrity of the other one, Mr. Speaker. I believe, for example, at the county assembly level, when the decision is made there, if it has been made correctly, when the matter arrives here to the Senate, then it is virtually the accused against his allegations for the Senate to listen to, but not a contestation between whether there was a lying MCA and there's a truthful MCA and there's another group in there, Mr. Speaker. So we should be asking ourselves, is this process finally serving devolution by the way we are prosecuting it, Mr. Speaker? And I believe we are going to make it fine, we are going to make it better if, Mr. Speaker, we qualify the process by ensuring.
Senator Wambua Kio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the final decision as to whether or not to impeach the governor of Nairobi City County, I hope will be based on facts and evidence. Mr. Speaker, I'll prosecute only 3 arguments in opposing the impeachment motion against Governor Sonko. One, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of threshold that I even raised with the lawyers on the floor. And even the lawyers themselves could not confirm to this House that the threshold for impeachment has been reached. The only thing they could say is that the determination of threshold is the province of the High Court. The Speaker, to the extent that there is doubt on threshold, even on the side of the lawyers, must say to us that threshold was not met. There is no justification whatsoever to impeach the governor of Nairobi City County. The Speaker, what I find very interesting is what really is the motivation of this process, Mr. Speaker. Why do I ask about the motivation? We are told that the Dandora Stadium is still under investigation, active investigation. At the end of the day, the investigating agencies will apportion blame and say, so and so is responsible for doing ABCD. Why is the county assembly of the Nairobi City in such a hurry to impeach the governor on account of a matter that is still under active investigation? Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the governor of Nairobi City County for stopping a cartel that was receiving bursary funds to a phantom school, but unfortunately, on that same count, is being accused of not issuing bursary funds. The Speaker, this House is being called upon to make a decision based on facts and evidence adduced on the floor of this House. The Speaker, with those remarks, I oppose.
Senator Cheriot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this chance. Mr. Speaker, we are being invited to make a very simple decision. I call it simple because the legislation that we are relying upon to make a determination where the threshold was reached at the County Assembly was passed by this Parliament, Mr. Speaker. The County Assembly of Nairobi appeared before us. They had a lead counsel. They had an opportunity for 2 days to, before us, present us with evidence confirming whether they reached that particular threshold. When they didn't do it, this afternoon, we were given an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to seek clarifications. I rose on a point of order, and I asked a specific question to the lead counsel. Can you furnish this House with the names of the members of County Assembly who you purport that 88 of them supported the impeachment process against the governor? That would have allowed me to look into the further details of all this mistreatment of staffers, issues of governance, and the rest. But he scattered around the issues. He could not produce that particular list. Mr. Speaker, a trend is emerging in this country, and this House will be setting a very bad precedent. If tonight we confirm to the entire country that it no longer matters if 2 MCAs meet, so long as they bring a list and a letter to this House and they are able to flex their political muscles, it will not matter anymore. Then as a House, we'll be failing in our constitutional responsibility of ensuring that we are defenders of devolution. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, for the simple and the obvious fact that is so obvious and bears for everybody who cares to listen, that the County Assembly of Nairobi never achieved the threshold of impeaching Governor Mike Sonko, I oppose this motion. Mr. Speaker, if it is about failure of duties, honestly, between the national government and the county government of Nairobi, which one needs the services of NMS? It is a national government. Mr. Speaker, I oppose.
Senator Wako.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to this very important motion. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have had 4 petitions. We have gathered experience, and I believe we are improving in the way we are handling these petitions. Mr. Speaker, sir, you may recall that I did say that this mandate is a very important mandate. And I think it will be worthwhile taking into account the experience that we have had to look at the procedures so that everybody lives here, the governors, everybody feels that they have had a fair deal, if I may use that particular word. Mr. Speaker, sir, when you look at it, actually it's a very simple thing. And if we just stuck to that simple thing, which is have the particulars given on various matters, have they been, the word is substantiated. We don't look to how they came here, because they come here in many ways. Maybe 2 MCAs, maybe the government, maybe just some people who are interested in ensuring that devolution does not work. Let us focus more, not on how they have come here, because if we focus too much on how they have come here, we may be derailed. This is my opinion. We focus more on what we have before us, the particulars that have been given, particulars that have been given pursuant to the reasons to remove the governor, which are set out in Article 181 of the Constitution. Have those particulars been substantiated? That's all. If they have not been substantiated, the petition does not succeed. If they have been substantiated, they succeed. But a petition should not fail or succeed because of how it found its way here. There will be many ways of these types of petitions coming here. Let us focus more, to me, on the issue of substantiation. Mr. Speaker, sir, let us also, we are developing jurisprudence. Let us also ensure that our jurisprudence on this matter is also consistent. For example, I can see that our jurisprudence on the issues of procurement and interests are now developing. And if you have to be consistent, we have to ensure that the way we decide those issues in one case should guide us on how we decide on those issues in this particular case. Finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, as we look at the procedures.
Your time is up. Senator Susan Kihika.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to oppose this motion. And part of the reasons as to why I oppose the motion is I was not convinced that the process that was followed at the county assembly level as far as the threshold and was followed properly. And I think it's important because the way that it got here must also be important and considered. But now once they were here and they were stating the grounds, I also felt that the grounds were very flimsy. When they come here talking to us about impeaching Governor Sonko because he danced to party after party in France, I feel that that's not a good enough reason. When Governor Sonko was elected by over 800,000 voters in Nairobi County, we all knew him to be a flamboyant, exuberant, flashy gentleman. So for us to now want to pigeonhole him into a suit and tie and expect him to just sit in the corner somewhere and sign off warrants and give back kickbacks, and if not, then be impeached, I feel that that is not the way to defend devolution. As the Senate, one of our very primary duties is under Article 96(1), which is to defend devolution. And from what I have seen in the past year or so, we seem to now have become some rubber stamp puppets who will do anything to help those who want to, from the national government, who want to mess with devolution, kill it by removing anyone who does not toe the line. We want to help them get there. But is it really worth it to have a by-election in Nairobi County, because which has 10% of the population of this country, just because they want maybe to transfer, as we have seen previously, to the military, the functions of the county illegally, and maybe perhaps the governor has refused to sign over some roles to an illegal entity. But here we are helping them, giving them a hand to get there. But anyhow, at the end of the day, my colleagues, I want to appeal to your conscience. Let us not impeach Governor Sonko on such flimsy grounds. I feel that the allegations were not substantiated, and as such, oppose the motion, and I hope that most of you, if not all of you, will do the same, will do the right thing, will follow your conscience, will uphold the law and follow the constitution that we swore to uphold. But as things are going, I fear for the devolution of this country if it's in the hands of this Senate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I oppose.
Senator Wetangula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll also be very brief. I think we have had in the last 2 days a lot of material. But going forward, Mr. Speaker, we should improve the process of hearing impeachment processes in this House. I think those who have been dealing with bettering our standing orders should create a structure for a sort of pre-trial conference between the parties, proper exchange of documents, not just through emails flying around, but sitting together. Probably our Committee on Justice can be involved if the clerk's office is overwhelmed, so that when the parties come here, we give them proper hearing without contestations as to whether some documents came here rightly or wrongly. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, every time an impeachment matter comes here, it's obviously a devolution on trial. Devolution on trial because we are going to truncate by a vote, if it's positive, the will of the people. But it also sends a message to our governors that abiding by the law and procedures set out in management of public affairs are not options. There are cardinal requirements in managing public affairs. I want to urge members, don't vote because so-and-so has told you to vote, or you are voting because you have been influenced. Vote because you have had the evidence as it was given here. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the documents, these bulk documents were brought as we started the hearing of the case. Some members may not even have gone through these documents. Unfortunately, that is the situation. I urge us to be as just and as fair as we possibly can, knowing that the future must be improved in this process. Thank you.
Senator Milson Omanga.
Speaker, what I would say is I stand up to oppose this motion. Mr. Speaker, these are interesting times to live in. Mr. Speaker, when I heard the MCA actually talk about intimidation, it was closer home because, Mr. Speaker, you know, the kind of intimidation even members of this house have gone through. Mr. Speaker, you know, in this house, even leadership or chairman of committees, they are not there by merit. It is because maybe they are robots to some orders from above, from the executive. Mr. Speaker, what I just want, because of time, to actually just read one thing. Because we lost a colleague, and I'm actually mourning Senator Kabaka. And the last message Senator Kabaka wrote on our WhatsApp group, 3 hours before he started, before he went to hospital.
There's a point of order from Senator Farhia.
My time, hope, Speaker, it will not.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we've been called puppets, we've been called robots. I think these allegations need to be substantiated. Otherwise, I think these people should withdraw and apologize to the House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I cannot substantiate the obvious. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, I want to read the last message Senator Kabaka wrote on our WhatsApp group.
Order. You know, don't just plow through. Let's make sure that people are listening to what you are saying. And this is just a word of caution. Remember that we are sitting here as Senate. So whichever name you use, you cannot stand out of this Senate and appear like you are not part of the Senate. So if you say, whatever, we are horses, we are cows, we are dogs, know that you are one of them. So let us be careful about what we are saying. Please, wind up.
Thank you. I'm guided, Mr. Speaker. I want to read the last message Senator Kabaka wrote on our social group. That's why, so that I can plead with members. If you actually want Senator Kabaka to rest in peace, let's actually rest him in peace by granting him what he requested on our WhatsApp group. I will read.
Order. You are out of order. You are out of order. Order, senators. Order, senators. You cannot misuse, we cannot use the misfortune that has befallen us, and we are still mourning. Our brother, to say that you are completely out of order. Order, senators, wind up. Time is up. Honorable senators, your time is up. Senator, what's your point of order, Senator Kangata?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is now 17 minutes past 10.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, we shall vote on each and every allegation.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, tomorrow is not a gazetted day.
Yeah.
So meaning we have a statutory deadline. In fact, I think Section 33 has clear set out timelines of the County Government Act, Section 33. And therefore, if for any reason we spill over up to tomorrow beyond midnight today, we will be breaching the law. And then taking into account the voting will be by roll call. I seek your directions on how we will proceed going forward. Yes, I propose we call the mover to reply. I propose we call the mover to reply. Mr. Speaker, I propose we call the mover to reply. Yes, we put
Honorable
the question.
Senators.
Mr. Speaker,
Order. Order, Senators. Order, Senators. Order. Order, Senators. Order. Order, Senators. Just hold on. Order, Senators. I order. I have not even talked. I've not even talked. What do you know what I'm going to say? No. You are not an expert in reading body languages. Order, Senators. I was going to say this. Order. I want to give this opportunity to the Senator for Nairobi, whom I had given an opportunity to talk last, so that because of time, we are able to, I put the question so that we vote. Senator Sakaja.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity to speak to this motion. Following your guidance, Mr. Speaker, that I speak last. Mr. Speaker, I ask that you direct...
Okay, order, Senators. Let us listen to Senator Sakaja. Remember, we have to vote. Please. Okay, Senator Sakaja.